Well, hi, everybody. It's the Joe and Joe Weather Show with Joe Rayo on the left and Joe Chaffee on the right. On what had to be, Joe, probably one of the most miserable days when you think about it. Here we are, the 22nd of April. And I pointed out in one of my weather posts today, if you seasonally adjust today's temperatures based on where we should be, if you seasonally adjust it to January, we would have just had a day where temperatures didn't get out of the teens. I mean, how miserable can you be at this time of year? It can't get worse
Well,
than this.
Chuck Cardillo says a nice snow squall coming through right now. And then we just had Gufl here at my home base about 45 minutes ago, and 41 degrees, I might add.
Yeah,
So
I don't think anybody
not factoring in wind.
did anybody get out of the 40s today that I saw?
I don't think so.
Huh,
I don't think so.
just so ridiculous.
It was, and you know what? The weather station that I have out in the backyard, and it's on a 20-foot mast mounted on the top, and for the I'd say last few weeks, it's been flashing transmitter battery low, transmitter battery low. And of course, naturally, you have to go up there and change it. And I've been putting it off, putting it off. We've had such lovely days in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And this morning, when Renata went to see what the morning low temperature was, the whole screen was blank. And she said, well, you pushed it as far as it could go, but then it came back again, I guess, because it has a little a thing where it's, you aim it up toward the sun. So the sun kind of reignited the battery a little bit. But I just know that in the next day or two, I'm going to have to climb that ladder, get up there, take the weather station down, and put the new battery in. I wasn't going to do it today, not with that wind and cold and, as I just mentioned, a little bit of precipitation falling a little while ago. Ain't no way you're going to get me up on that 20-foot ladder to get that device down. So
Yeah.
it'll have to just go for another day.
Well, I will tell you here this morning we got down to 29, and I had a little bit. I'm in North Georgia. Apparently, somebody didn't realize that yesterday, criticizing me for forecasting frost with a 20-mile-an-hour wind. But I gently pointed out that I wasn't in the same location. But we got to 28
Yes.
this morning. Had a light frost, so the wind must have held up long enough last night so that it wasn't white everywhere. I noticed a little bit of frost on the car. And I was going to leave my plants out. I took them back out today. I was going to leave them out, and there is absolutely not a breath of wind. And I thought, you know what? They're forecasting mid-30s tonight with a chance for patchy frost. I figured, let me bring them in because plants are expensive. I don't know if you've been. I was at Home Depot. Uh, the plants have really gotten up in price, so I don't want to have to spend it all over again.
Well, we were saved from frost, I think, by the winds last night,
Oh
but
yeah,
it was every bit. It felt every bit like February if you were stepped outside this morning, and I think we had wind chills today that even during the afternoon hours with some sunshine made it feel more like it was in the 30s. It was a day more atypical of what you would see around here, late February or March. I mean,
sure.
it was just, I mean, you just didn't want to be out there for any long length of time.
Yeah, even my mother was complaining today. All right, well, you know what? It's going to feel like spring soon enough, particularly if we are correct in what we're seeing in the long range. And that might inspire you to finally get your yard in order. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by OmniTrueValue.com. And they have all the mulch that you could possibly imagine in whatever color you would like. And they don't run out because they make it there. So get your truck there or get your landscaper to send his truck there to get whatever you need to make your yard look fantastic. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, in Suffolk County on Long Island, 6317-561125. And in these inflationary times that we seem to be living in, they do have the best prices in town. And the website is OmniTrueValue.com. So I guess before we get into weather, Joe, you were talking last night, and I saw a few people talking about it today. You've got this SpaceX launch tomorrow, and maybe just kind of go over what people should be looking for tomorrow morning, assuming there's a clear sky and a sunny start to the day.
Yeah, well, this is something, and actually, this caught everybody off guard last month when they launched a bunch of Starlink satellites using the very same rocket that they're going to use to propel these 4 astronauts to the space station tomorrow morning. It is a Falcon 9 two-stage rocket. The first stage has 9 engines. The second stage has 1 single engine. And what happened last month was they launched it about an hour before sunrise. And when the rocket went high enough into the atmosphere, still dark down at the surface along the eastern seaboard, but as the rocket went up into the higher levels of the atmosphere where the sun was shining, it's shown on the vapor trail, the contrail that the rocket was leaving behind, and it left an incredible widening plume, if you will, of vapor, which was just glowing in the early morning light. And tomorrow morning, the launch of the Falcon 9 rocket once again will come before sunrise, and much of the East Coast will be in semi-darkness, in twilight, and it could very well be that we may be treated again to a very unusual sight of this weird-looking widening plume or contrail moving across the sky. If it is clear in the tri-state area tomorrow morning, the launch is scheduled for 5:49, and I would suppose about 4 or 5 minutes after that, it'll come up to about our latitude, far enough north so that we'll be able to see it low in the south and southeastern sky. Watch it as it skims above the southeastern horizon, again with this glowing plume trailing behind the main vehicle. And that teeny tiny little dot out ahead of that plume, that will be the Dragon capsule that'll be carrying 4 more astronauts up to the International Space Station. The station right now has 6 occupants in it. So we're going to add 4 more with this launch tomorrow morning, making for 10 people on board that orbiting space station. And again, tomorrow morning, assuming it stays clear and assuming that there are no technical difficulties, if you're out and about, let's say around 5:54, 5:55 a.m. in the New York metro area and looking low toward the southeast, you should be able to get a view of that glowing plume. Other spots along the eastern seaboard, you might want to consult my article that I wrote for space.com. I have it on my page, Joe Rayo Weather, Facebook page. So you might want to go and look it up there. But it should be quite visible from Florida all the way up to our area. The only place where you wouldn't be able to see it all that well, Joe, probably would be over New England. And the only reason why they won't get a good view of it is because the sun will have already come up. And that sun brightening the sky to a level where it'll be either difficult or maybe impossible to see that glowing plume. Fortunately for us, the sun does not rise until about 14 or 16 minutes before 60 minutes after the launch. So the sky should still be reasonably dark for us to get a glimpse of this launch. So if you've never seen a rocket launch from Cape Canaveral, you'll get your opportunity early tomorrow morning.
Matt Kay asks that if you're going to be up for this to take a video of it, because he plans not to be up for it. So
I guess I'll have to bring my phone with me, and my wife will have to explain to me how I could run the video for the phone, unless she happens to be with me. I'll ask her after the show. I'll see.
Just click the.
How would you like to get up tomorrow morning?
Yeah, click the camera icon and then click the button. There's a little button there that makes it to take a video. It's usually a red button.
Really?
Yeah, the red button.
That's amazing.
In this case, Joe, push the red button. Don't ever push the red one. David Carter. Go ahead.
I'm just asking. I said, you could do all of these wonderful things. You can record people's voices. You could take pictures. You could take video. Can you make a phone call using the stupid iPhone?
Yes, of course you can make a phone call, but nobody makes phone calls.
It's like
anymore.
It's the
Unless
Swiss
you're,
Army. It's like the Swiss Army knife.
I know, but unless you're selling a car warranty or pretending to be someone from Social Security or the IRS, and that you're going to send the police over to arrest someone, those are the only phone calls that you get these days. David Carter
That's true.
hit super chat tonight. Thank you, David. And David hit super chat because he is thankful, Joe, that we reminded him last night of Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse.
I once went to a comedy store. God, now this goes way back. This goes many, many years ago. And right in the middle of the comedy skit, and the guy had a guitar, he started playing the theme song. He said, "How many of you remember this?" Gee,
Courageous!
Yeah.
The frog, yeah.
And who was Minute Mouse's girlfriend or dream girlfriend?
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Marilyn Mouse.
Oh,
Marilyn Mouse, Joe.
Well, I made up a joke about Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse, but I'm not going to. I'll tell you the joke off air. Okay.
Okay.
I think you
may
have heard me heard this joke, but no matter. Okay, so this shot of winter. I guess there's a couple of upsides and downsides to all of this, affecting not just our weather but nationwide. So you got to figure that with all this cold air that's in it, in order to get rid of it, we have to create a little bit of atmospheric disruption, and I think we're going to see that starting tomorrow with a potential severe weather outbreak across the southern plains and in the western Gulf states. And then on Saturday, we're going to translate that further east to the central and eastern Gulf states, and also the southeastern part of the U.S. And of course, we've got a storm that's going to be coming out of all of this, low pressure that's going to bring some rain here for a part of the weekend. We still think that Saturday is going to be the better of the two weekend days, and then we'll have to deal with some rain probably for some areas Saturday night into Sunday morning before the low moves away. But I'm thinking, and I guess if you looked at the long range today, Joe, kind of watching this whole thing for next week. Will there be blocking, no blocking, or blocking that's far enough east of us where we're in a sweet spot? And I'm leaning into the sweet spot idea, and I'm thinking we could see temperatures up at 80 or better for Wednesday and Thursday of next week. I don't know about Tuesday. Might be pushing it a little bit, but we certainly should see 70s on Tuesday. But I think there's a pretty good chance that we could see 80s, and much of next week could wind up being dry because a storm's going to be out to the east in the ocean. It's going to keep everything. It's going to create a traffic jam. We'll be in the sweet spot of that traffic jam with a nice ridge along the East Coast, and there'll be a storm in the plains and another round of severe weather there. But by the time that front gets through here, it'll probably be fairly weak. The bottom line is, looks like we'll get some payback for what's going on now next week with some great spring weather.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm looking here, Joe. After we get through Sunday's little atrocity, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment, this ridge just literally builds from Texas and Louisiana, Oklahoma, straight north into the Great Lakes, and then shifts eastward and just continues to build and build and build. I'm almost tempted to say next week that maybe by the end of next week, dare I say, that while we here in the tri-state New York area will be flirting with 80, dare I say that maybe for northern sections of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and up into Quebec, they might be. We saw this last year at this time. Maybe flirt with 90. Is that out of the question, you think?
Well, I mean, if there were an if the center of the ridge, if the center of the ridge, the area of the greatest anomalies, were up to the northeast, I think you could make that case. I don't know that that's going to be the case this time around, because there is going to be some type of high in eastern Canada that's going to wedge down with a little bit of marine air. It doesn't look like now that is going to make it pretty far to the south, but I'm thinking that the strongest part of that ridge is not going to be up in Canada, but more to the south. But let's take a look, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, taking a look at the U.S. satellite loop, and of course, if you notice in the Northeast, Joe, this is typical of what happens when you get storms in eastern Canada in the wintertime, where you get there's a very cold trough. The upper flow is very cold from the Great Lakes into the Northeast. You've got little ripples in there that are moving along, and it produced cloud cover today. It produced some snow showers. It produced some grapple, which you said you had there, and
Yep.
we still see some clouds streaming in from the northwest. I don't know how much clearing we're going to get. I think we may partially clear, but I don't think we'll completely clear out. And that'll at least, I think, help actually to keep the temperatures up a little bit during the overnight, and so will the wind. The wind won't be as strong as it was during the day, but I think there'll be enough of a wind where frost should not be an issue. However, if you head further south, when you're outside of the pressure gradient, like if you're down in Delaware, Maryland, and maybe parts into Northeast Virginia, for example, there may be frost issues there. And of course, I'll show you where all the freeze warnings are, because we got another round of freeze warnings all over the place. And then if you take a look back through Texas and on up in through the Central Plains, you're seeing moisture streaming in. Also, that moisture streaming up from the subtropical Pacific across Mexico and into the western Gulf of Mexico. So you're already setting the table up here for the potential for severe weather on Friday. And there is a southern shortwave that is moving eastward that is going to be the trigger mechanism through all of this. But in the meanwhile, we've got some time. It's dry in the Great Lakes. It's dry in the Ohio Valley in the southeast. So once we push this thing, to the upper right, you can still see the storm rotating there. Once that gets a little bit further to the east, we should see sky improvement. I think we'll have a better sky day tomorrow with more sun and fewer clouds. And again, Saturday should be the better of the 2 weekend days.
I would agree. Even though that Saturday we probably will begin to see some high and mid-level clouds invade the skies during the afternoon, but still temperatures well up in the 60s to near 70, and then we'll have to deal with that interruption, we'll call it, for Sunday with clouds and the threat of precipitation. I think, Joe, also after Sunday, after we get past Sunday, I think we may be in for a pretty long stretch of above normal temperatures. Of course, we've just touched upon how next week, especially the middle and latter part of next week, we could be unseasonably mild, if not downright warm. But I think even beyond that, you look at the GFS and take the run out all the way to 384 hours, which takes us to like 15 days down the road. I don't really see anything remotely resembling even a slight cool down for what we're currently experiencing after we get out of this, and once we get into the milder airflow for the weekend and on into the start of next week.
Meanwhile, you look at the radar. By the way, snow in upstate New York around the Syracuse area. One of my former interns, meteorologist Peter Hall, who works up in Syracuse, posting pictures of some 3, 4, 5-inch snow amounts in Syracuse, and that kind of stands out because Syracuse this winter was the snow hole in the Northeast, getting far less than the surrounding areas. But you'll notice on the radar, still seeing snow showers in upstate New York, also up into parts of New England and down into western Pennsylvania, sliding southeastward. Chuck Cardillo, you may still see, you said you had a snow squall heading your way, and there's probably a couple of more behind that one. This should all start to calm down, though, at some point. And in the southern plains, across northern Oklahoma and northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, you're seeing some convective activity here, some thunderstorms. Doesn't look like any of that severe, but again, we're planting the seeds for tomorrow. And showers arcing up northwestward into South Dakota. Still a little bit of snow going on in parts of Colorado and also into Montana, northern Idaho. The west, for the time being, is dry. Okay, so let's look at the Storm Prediction Center now. So this is tomorrow. This is the severe weather risk for tomorrow. And we have a slight risk. Still would not shock me if we wind up seeing a small area of enhanced risk out of this. Slight risk for central and east Texas across Louisiana into south central Mississippi. Marginal risk pushing up into Arkansas, southern Missouri, and into northern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, and also as far east as southern Alabama. On Saturday, and by the way, let me go back to that because I think that this is important. For tomorrow, the risk area you see 5% areas of risk areas for tornadoes, 15% for destructive winds of 50 knots or higher, and hail in 15% or higher in the area that's indicated for the slight risk. Now we'll move to day 3, which is really there's nothing going on tonight. But moving to tomorrow, to Saturday into Sunday, slight risk now from southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, central and southern Alabama, much of Georgia, much of South Carolina. Eastern North Carolina goes into a marginal risk as you go up toward the northeastern part of the state. The southern area is in a slight risk. And that is not going to be a problem here because the low is going to track just north of the risk zone. We're going to be on the chilly side of this, so it'll just be a steady rain that we'll be dealing with Saturday night into Sunday. And on the day 4 through 8 outlook, Joe, we were talking the other day about you rarely see probabilities up in the day 8 range or the day 7 range. Every once in a while it shows up, but we do have one today in the day 6 range. So this is Tuesday into Wednesday. North central Texas, much of Oklahoma into Kansas, and this is where the next storm system is going to be tracking well to our north and west because it won't be able to move eastward. We're going to be in that ridge position for 3 days. So severe weather is likely to be is going to wind up being in the plains with this next system. And again, this is on the day 6. So if it's already there on the day 6, you know that SPC is looking at this carefully. And with respect to rainfall over the next 7 days, and this is the only thing we have to worry about here as far as rain is for Saturday night into Sunday. 3/4 of an inch to an inch, inch and a quarter being indicated by WPC. Lately, they've been kind of running a little on the high side as far as the rainfall is concerned, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. And a very large area of 3 to 5 inches of rainfall over the next 7 days in Missouri, western Illinois, western Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, northern Georgia, northern Louisiana, northeastern Texas, a big area there of heavy rains. Still seeing heavy precip amounts in liquid over the next 7 days in the Rockies, so you know that's still going to be the white stuff because that's where the trough is going to be out in the west. And some rather moderate rains, let's call them, for California, all the way down to Southern California, up the coast, and then it picks up a bit as you get into the Pacific Northwest. So we've got, I did save this one loop here I pulled up earlier from the GFS for next week when we're in that ridge position. And I just want to show you, I wanted to show this, the temperatures here on Wednesday. The GFS, now remember, we're 6 days away from this, so it's pretty impressive to see numbers this high. 76 for, I don't know, whatever that spot is west of New York City, and 80s into Virginia and West Virginia, 70s going all the way up into upstate New York and into, say, Toronto, Montreal. And then on Thursday, we'll roll it up. On Thursday, they've got Joe 79 at New York City, 83 for Atlantic City, 80 for just south and west of Washington, D.C. So I think those numbers could wind up being too low. If they're showing it this, if the model's correct about the ridge position and there's no backdoor front that we have to worry about or any kind of onshore winds, these numbers are going to be achieved and we'll probably take them out by several degrees. I think there could be some upside here. And in fact, there's some 80s in western Massachusetts, up in Vermont, and even on the Canada side of northern Vermont, some lower 80s showing up there.
I agree with you 100%. When you go like 5, 6, 7 days down the road in a situation like this, and you see those kind of numbers within a few degrees of 80, you can almost bet, because it always is the same. You see on the 7-day outlook, and we might hit 80, let's say next Thursday. And then when Thursday comes, it's like 86, 87.
Right.
You say, where the heck did this come from? It always seems to be that the models always underperform when you're taking into account a potential warm up. And so, yeah, I would not be a bit surprised if we saw temperatures literally soar by the middle and latter part of next week, based upon what you just showed us, Joe.
And by the way, along the same lines, the opposite is true. When you see the GFS in its long range showing really, really ridiculously cold temperatures, more often than not, they're too low. So there seems to be a cold bias when it comes to warm weather, and a warm bias. I'm sorry. There seems to be there seems to be just an overall cold bias. It's not warm enough when you're warming things up, and too cold when you're chilling things down.
Now, Michael Azera on the chat board just says that Channel 10 Philadelphia is already forecasting 86 for next Thursday. Always get confused. Because I remember many years ago, Channel 10 was a CBS affiliate. Channel 3 was the NBC affiliate. Now they just simply swapped. Now CBS is Channel 3 and NBC is Channel 10. But whatever, they're already talking about mid and upper 80s in the Philadelphia area for next Thursday. And can New York City be far behind?
Well, at this time of year, it's a wind issue. The surface wind. That is it good? Is there a sea breeze? Is there what's the orientation of the isobars? Is there enough of a gradient in the west wind? Those are always the big questions that you have to deal with this time of year. Now, if you look at the upper air, I brought up the GFS upper air for this is the 12Z run. I have not seen the 18Z run, and I'm just going to stay with the 12Z today because it'll just take too long to load, and there's been missing maps along the way. But this is a very wintry looking pattern that we have right now. Deep upper low in New England, in northeastern New England, southeastern Canada. Deep upper low in northern Canada, north central Canada. Ridge over Alaska. And again, if you follow, I always use the idea, just follow the height lines and draw in your jet stream, and you can tell, you can see exactly where the air is coming from and where it's going. We also have these southern stream systems, and this one particular one that's now moving through the southwest is going to be the severe weather driver going forward. Now watch what happens here as we roll on through the weekend. And of course, the southern system and that northern Canada upper low, they merge into a long wave trough phase, and that southern short wave lifts up to the northeast, kind of stays separate to an extent. But the northern system's the driver here, lifts it right up, goes negative. That's the low coming up the East Coast, and we wind up getting our rain, which with any luck will be out of here by Sunday afternoon. And then here's where the models change drastically. The upper low that you see here over Nova Scotia on Monday was forecast to just kind of sit there and drop back or rotate back west-southwestward, and that was going to eventually just keep us in a potential blocky situation with a high to the north and an onshore wind. Instead, that upper low is now forecast to move toward Newfoundland and basically weaken. And here's that big ridge, Joe. I mean, it just really flies up right along the East Coast, all the way up into southeastern Canada here. Whoops, sorry, I'm losing control of my pen. There we are. Right there. There's your big ridge right along the East Coast. You've got this strung out upper low to the east of 60 degrees west in a north-south orientation. So really nothing can move. And now you've got this deepening trough that's in the plains, and that'll be the severe weather trigger for next week in the plain states. But while we're under this ridge position, it can't rain. And also the onshore flow is probably not going to be a problem here. And going forward, as you said, just rolling through, eventually, we're out to next Friday. I mean, eventually you do try to get some sort of cold front through here. And Another trough drops down into the western part of the United States. It's mostly ridging here in the east. So yeah, it's hard to make a case for any. It's hard to make. You can't make a case for another cold blast of air like the one we just had. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, and I hope all of you out there who are winter weather or snow lovers or whatever, this may be it. This may be it for this season. We've been kidding about, maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to see one more round of wintry type weather, but this is it. I honestly, when the next below normal period of weather that we may see here may not come until May. So, and by then it's of course it's too late. So there you go, folks.
And by the way, you can use, the winter stat. You were waiting to get to the 40 inches because those other winters produced 40 inches.
Correct.
Right. Well, all you have to do now is if we get into a position where you can quote the same stat again, Joe, you're going to use 38.4 as your baseline.
Yeah. Well, we gave it a good college try. I know, you look back, and I know that a lot of the winter weather lovers were already throwing in the towel by the end of January, thinking that that's it. We had our one big surge in mid-December, and the rest of the winter would be like kaput. But then February was every bit of a winter month. And then as soon as we got out of February, we went into March and on into April, and everything just turned around once again. Having
an above normal temperature pattern in the first half of March was a killer. You got to have a below normal temperature pattern for at least the first 2 weeks of March in order to get that chance for a snowfall in the month of March. Because once you get past mid-month, you know how tough it is to get big snows after that. So that was a killer from that standpoint.
Right. And actually, there were a couple, I think, memory serves me, there were a couple of occasions in March where we were saying, like, if everything falls into place, yeah, this could do it. But nothing, it never did fall into place.
No, it fell in the trash.
It fell in the trash. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And incidentally, for that day 6, just going back to the Storm Prediction Center, they are putting a lot of their interest on the European model. They say that it has excellent run-to-run consistency, and based upon what the European is saying, the forecaster's name is Gleason. I don't know if his first name is Jackie, but Gleason is saying large-scale ascent associated with the upper trough and the low-level convergence along the dry line appear to be sufficient to initiate convection by Tuesday afternoon. If this occurs, then an organized severe thunderstorm threat will develop with all severe hazards possible. The 15% severe area that they're outlining for day 6, which is Tuesday, has been expanded to include most of the length of the dry line where severe thunderstorms appear possible. So basically, in a nutshell, keep your eye on next Tuesday, because before all is over, said and done, we might be looking at a very, very active and potentially very severe outbreak of storms for the early part of next week.
In the plains.
Yes.
In the plains.
Not here.
No, and
Yes.
the European, I thought, was even warmer than the GFS was, by the way, for the middle part of next week. But anyway, we'll just look at the new GFS run. And tomorrow, of course, as we said, it's a very slow relaxation. The gradient is still, it's not super tight, but it's still there. The high goes out. Saturday should start with sun. You're starting, if you watch the system coming out of the southern plains, the GFS developing some, what looks like the potential for some big thunderstorms. I'm using the radar here on the GFS. Northeastern Texas over to Louisiana and Arkansas, right in the heart of that risk zone. And then on Saturday, as the risk zone shifts eastward, so do the thunderstorms. And in fact, if this is to be believed, I will be getting into some of this on late Friday night, Saturday morning. And then it pushes out. The surface low goes into the central Appalachians. Rain reaching southern Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland by 8 o'clock Saturday evening. reaches New York City probably around midnight, reaches Boston probably around 2 a.m. or so, or a little bit after that. And there's your low Sunday morning, northeast of Atlantic City, just south of New York City. Rain all the way up into southern Canada, all through Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York. It comes in and goes out fairly quickly. So maybe there's a little bit of hope for, I think south and west of New York City, you got a shot maybe of getting into some sun Sunday afternoon if this thing moves along. North and east of New York City, it may be a tough sell because the low is still fairly close by at 2 p.m. And then, of course, there's no real cold air behind this. So, I mean, it'll be a little cool on Monday to an extent, let's say 60s, but then the high goes out off the Carolina coast. We'll start the warm up on Tuesday, continue it into Wednesday and Thursday. Here, again, there's the only thing, Joe, I'm looking at this. You know, if you look at the isobars, there's a very weak, there's not a tight westerly gradient like the European has. The GFS has a weaker look to it. So there's maybe, you know, a very, very weak little front here, little backdoor type front. We'll have to see if that's real or not. And that might be the one thing that keeps the temperatures a little bit cooler, at least along the coast. Inland areas, it may not make a difference. And then you wait till, sometime maybe Friday or late on Friday when a cold front comes through or tries to come through. The European seems
if it could break through that block, if it could break through that ridge. You know, that's another thing. That's another thing that, you know, you look at this and you say to yourself, all right, well, things will break down, like let's say Wednesday, we may get into some clouds and showers Thursday or Friday. And then the next day you look at it and says, well, looks like now it may not break down until Friday. So looks like dry for most of the week. And then tomorrow you look at it and say, geez, looks like the whole week is going to be dry. That could very well happen for next week. We could very well be in a dry and progressively moderate pattern and, you know, downright warm by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, you mentioned this earlier. Tuesday, well, yeah, maybe we'll quote only, quote unquote, be around 70. I mean, I'll take right now the way it was out there today. I'll take a 60 for God's sake. But yeah, 70 on Tuesday, and then off to the races we go for later, middle and latter part of next week.
Yeah, CoinPig, who was on the chat board, watches us from the UK, says they've had some snow this month, but mostly it's been the number of frosts. 21 days through the first 21 days of the month, 16 of those days have produced frosts in a large part of the country. It's been rather cold up in Western Europe. We noted that a week ago when we were looking at the pattern there. So it's kind of corresponding with all the action that's going on here in the East. I brought up the European, Joe, just to show you the difference here, because the European, if this is to be believed, we're going to warm up big time come Wednesday and Thursday, because the high goes out off North Carolina, and you've got westerly isobars here from North Carolina all the way up into upstate New York. And in fact, the gradient actually gets tighter because the European runs a flat low out of the plains system. You wind up with a low in Lake Huron moving northeastward to the St. Lawrence Valley. All that does is make the isobars more west-east-west or west-east. And
right.
if that's the case, if we got a west wind, 80 is going to be a lock, and maybe, maybe we'll push numbers up even higher. But the European does have a cold front here coming through sometime late Thursday, early Friday. You can see it right here with a low up. It's a little bit different than the GFS in terms of how it's handling the overall flow across the U.S. And then, of course, that goes out, and it looks like it's setting up for another front on day 10. But you know what? We'll deal with that when we get there. So, look, bottom line is, as miserable as you were today in terms of the cold, you should get more than enough payback next week when we will be dry for at least 3 days, if not 4. And on the warm side of normal, and I'm thinking at least 2 of those days, we should see temperatures make a run for 80 or better.
I will agree with you 100%. It looks I'm just as you're talking, I'm just checking out to see what our friends at the Climate Prediction Center had said. and they have
You have
in
sharing
our
capability.
area.
You have sharing capability, by the way.
All right, all right. So
And then
it's
then I got
let
a
me
then I have a video to show.
a video.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's make this quick here with the CPC. All of you should be able to see that. Let me get the temperature forecast. As you can see, for the 6 to 10 day outlook, valid from April the 28th to May the 2nd, they have the Northeast in a zone of what is this now? This is well 70. This is right here. That's 70% probability of above normal temperatures, which would include the lower end of it includes our area. So you can see what they're thinking over at CPC above normal. And let's go out as far as 8 to 10 days. Again, above normal, not quite as high, but the above normal temperatures continue all the way until the 6th of May. And if we check out the precipitation pattern for, let's say, the 6 to 10 day outlook, they have us right on the edge of near or below normal precip. So what they're saying, Joe, is that any precipitation is going to be rather few and far between and rather limited as we move or transition from April into May. And I think on the 8 to 14 day, the up to 2 week pattern, we just go to just normal. So what can I tell you? It looks like we are eyeballing a stretch of very warm, very mild, if you want to call it that, and also rather dry conditions as we move through the rest of April and on into the early part of May.
So, James Harris, who who's on the chat board from time to time, messaged me yesterday that he was gonna. He likes to get in the car and just drive. So whenever we get these types of systems, he'll he'll get in the car, he'll jump in the car and drive up into upstate New York or New England or wherever it is, and he decided to go up I-81. And he sent me back this video here. Let me just hit the play button here. This is 81 on the way to Syracuse this morning.
Right.
And you can see, okay, so sun angle or no sun angle, you can see that there actually is a little bit of white stuff, trying to stick on the main roads. But look how much snow sticking, on the colder surfaces. So this was pretty amazing. And there were some, I don't know what the official amount was for Syracuse, but I did see shots from in and around Syracuse of 4 and 5 inches of snow accumulation. So if you are a snow lover, you can live vicariously through this video by our friend James Harris, and we thank him very much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing it with me, and I shared it with everybody else.
And you see, if you're right out of college or you're just getting started in this business, you looked at the numbers today and you said, well, both the NAM and also the GFS was giving like very low numbers, like in the single digits for probability of precipitation in the New York metropolitan area. And yet some of our northern suburbs, case in point up here, we had a little dose of frozen precip, a little bit of Gufl for us. And you say, but wait a minute, the model said it doesn't matter. In this situation, when you have that fierce northwesterly wind blowing the way it was today, and with the snow and flurries and snow showers up to the north and west near the Great Lakes, the Syracuse area, that wind easily will blow some of that precipitation down into the immediate tri-state area and provide a little brief period of precip. Even though the numbers are supposed to be very low, you still see a little bit of snow. And that was a classic case of that today for us.
Yep.
And it always happens when the winds are gusty and strong from the northwest. You could always count on some of that snow activity or some snow showers sometimes getting pushed all the way down from the Lakes region, sometimes into the Hudson Valley, and sometimes even into the immediate New York City area.
Now, Ruthless Goat, who is not on the board tonight, but just tagged me in this Facebook post. Now, I don't know if you guys will, maybe if you're seeing this on a big screen, I can't really make this any bigger than it already is. But he's in Loveland, Colorado, which is not too far from Denver. And this is the climatological data for Loveland. And it's He just mentioned April being a wild month in Colorado. We have already had over 10 inches of snow, and both the record high of 81, which was set on April 4th, and the record low of 6, which was set on April 20th and on the 21st. Which, by the way, Joe, for April 20th and 21st, the anomalous departure was 27.3 degrees below normal, and the departure for the 21st is 25.6 degrees below normal. And they have been, after a little stretch here of above normal temperatures at the beginning of the month, 3 days of hitting 80, 81, 80, and 81 on the 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then we have their departures on the upside were 12.2, 13.5, 13.8. But then starting from the 10th, they've had one. The 11th was 2 degrees above normal. It got to 72. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 12 out of the last 13 days have been below average in temperature. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those days have been double digit below average. So they're getting it worse than we are. And I got something else from Mr. Harris here. He just sent me a new video. So let's see. I'm assuming. Okay, hang on a second. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this.
I mean, how do you have 3 days of temperatures in the 80s, and then more than a week later, you end up with 4 inches of snow?
Right. Well, James shot this from Syracuse, so you can see the tulips with the snow cover here. I can't really. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, Joe, your now we know where your 1.4 inches is. Oh God.
Oh God.
Thank you, James. Well, really, thank you very much for sharing that. Most appreciated. Now let's get to Briller Jeopardy because this one should be fun. So hang on a second. I just got to find him. Where is he? Here we go. Okay, so now, Joe, tonight's category is volcanoes. Okay, there are 13 states in the U.S. that have active volcanoes.
How is that possible? I mean, I could understand Washington and Oregon, Mount Hood, Mount Rainier, the Cascades. 13 states have volcanoes?
Active volcanoes.
And also Hawaii. Hawaii too.
All right, so you named
Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea.
So you named 4 of them already: Oregon, California, Washington, and Hawaii. So you got 9 to go.
Okay. Rhode Island.
Oh, be serious! Come on.
Idaho.
Idaho is number 7.
What volcano is active in Idaho?
I don't know. Mount Baked Potato. I don't know.
You heard Macy's upstairs just yell out Alaska, which I was going to get to. I was trying to get to the more ridiculous ones first.
Well, Idaho is on the list.
Idaho is on the list. All right.
Yeah,
well,
instead of lava, Joe, it spews out sour cream and cheddar cheese.
Yeah. How about Nevada?
Nevada is number 11.
Really?
Yes.
Well, then let's try another mountainous state. Montana?
Montana is on there. They are number 13.
That's amazing. So how about Colorado?
Colorado is number 10.
More or less, I'll just pick all the states that are in the Pacific or mountain time zones or whatever. Did I do Wyoming yet? Did we get Wyoming?
You didn't do Wyoming, but Wyoming is number 12.
Isn't that amazing? That's
You only got a couple left here now.
Arizona.
Arizona, number 9.
California.
That was done already.
You want to come downstairs and play the game here?
3rd floor next to bathing suits.
Arizona, New Mexico.
The Land of Enchantment makes the list at number 8.
So there you go.
Wait,
did we miss any?
You got one left.
One left.
Right.
One left.
One
This will be the toughie.
One bullet left. Hey, laughing boy.
One. One bullet left.
One bullet left.
What are the rules here? Is it 3 strikes and out?
It's baseball rules. You've got them all right so far. Shall I give you a hint for this one?
I'm gonna wait a minute. Let me just. So I did California.
All right, let me run through this
Oregon,
for you. Hawaii,
Washington.
Hawaii. All right, Hawaii. I don't know if you said Hawaii, Oregon, California, Washington, Idaho, New Mexico, right. Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Wyoming. There's actually 2. I'm sorry, there's 2 left. I thought you said this one, but I'm not sure.
How about if we try the Dakotas, both North and South Dakota?
Well, so now you have 2 strikes because they're both wrong.
I really.
All right.
I don't want to say Texas.
No. So you were right in your logic and how you were figuring this out. You've called out every state in that logic except for one in the continental U.S.
Nebraska.
This state is worth its weight in salt.
In salt?
Salt.
You mean? I didn't mention Utah.
You did not say Utah.
Oh well, there you are.
And Utah. Now I wasn't sure if you said Alaska or not.
Yes. Not only did I say it, but the woman upstairs said it too.
Okay. All right. So I didn't remember whether you did or didn't. So. You got every single one of them right without making a mistake, and you were left with Utah. and the Dakotas took away 2 of your chances right there.
Right.
Now,
well, that's interesting. Active volcanoes. They must be very small volcanoes.
Well, except for Yellowstone.
That's true.
That's my one. I really want to go to Yellowstone badly, but with my luck. You know what'll happen when I get there.
It'll be closed.
No, or either that, or it'll erupt while I'm there. That eruption of that volcano, whatever it's called out there in Yellowstone, that they bring up every once in a while. That one of these days that thing's going to blow and basically rearrange the entire northern hemisphere. That would be my luck if I wind up going up there. So. But I will test it. I will test my luck at some point in my life. Brandon Doherty just hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Brandon, very very much indeed. Let's see. Jameson Garcia wanted to know about next week's event for Indiana. They're supposed to get anything. I'm thinking at least initially the first round of storms are going to be more west of the Mississippi. Now maybe eventually some of that will move eastward, but for now. I think it's going to be, at least the first shot will probably be more to the west. But you know what? Check in on Sunday when we do the next Joe and Joe weather show, and we'll see what. Because to be truthful, I didn't give it that close a look. Okay. So tune back in on Sunday, and we'll zero in. Joe and Joe weather show tonight brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware. And once it warms up, you're gonna want to get all that mulch into your yard. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, in Southwest Suffolk County. 631-756-1125. The best prices in town, and they do have the best prices around. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. Also, just want to give a quick acknowledgement to our other sponsor, Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Whether you're decorating your home or you want to do this as a business, give them a call, 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. So Sunday, I don't have any family obligations this Sunday, and I'm not anticipating having any family obligations this Sunday. So we will attempt to go at our usual Sunday morning show time, which is at 11 a.m. Eastern. So,
And we will be here.
Yes. So everybody have a great Friday and a great weekend, and we will see you on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Nighty night.
Nighty night.